Continuing through the 80s, we arrive at season 18, serial number 2, number 110 total. It is the one and only Meglos. Who is Meglos? What is Meglos? Oh, if only it was a Megalodon. Could you imagine how much better this episode would have been?
Yeah.
If it was a Megalodon or it was Megalovania?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have been stupidly playing taiko drum Megalovania only for like 3 days now, and so my brain is nothing but yes.
Oh no.
Yeah, pretty much. That's my brain. It's just constantly just That's the only bit. Thanks. We're now copyright claimed on like 80 different websites. Oh, there's 81. Fuck.
That's anyway. Not how the podcast works.
Yeah, no. It does now, because you played that. Anyway, so, Meglos, would you like me to talk about it?
Yeah, what happened in Meglos, dear?
Well, there's some terrible font choices to say first. They made a font.
Okay. What is this was in the previous episode and you didn't bring it up at all.
Because I didn't.
The font
is
noticed not bad at all.
It's like bubble font.
It's neon tubing.
It's just really, really round, and I don't like it. It looks. It looks and reminds me of something that you would get off of like a font website that has like flowers and shit in it. And it just, I don't
looks
like
at a pizza. It's just too round. I don't like it.
I like my pizza square. Okay.
I like my pizza square. These wheels on your car, I just
don't like
them. They're too round. I don't like them.
I'd prefer if they were dodecahedrons, preferably.
There we go.
It hasn't even been explained yet. Anyway, there's some terrible font choices. On repairing K9, they stop and hover the TARDIS for safety, and Nirvana's like wanting to land instead. And they mention this place called Tigella, and he goes, "Oh, I was there a long time ago." And then some blonde bowl cut dude and a whole bunch of other blonde bowl cut people are trying to do stuff, but they set off a bomb, maybe, potentially, like sparks fly, someone's injured, he loses his eyes. And then a man in a purple cloak comes in and asks what's going on. They live near a dodecahedron, apparently, and someone else lives here because religion. And they're talking about re-inhabiting the surface, but the Daons go, "No, that's blasphemy. We are here for the dodecahedron only." And the purple's like, "No, I'm the leader. I don't want to argue like this." Bullcut goes, "We're fucking going to die, goddammit. Like, we don't have food." And a lady comes in with a huge fucking ponytail and is told something, and she goes to talk to the purple dude and goes, "This is blasphemy." And then they're headed to the debating chamber, where you do debating. Haha. Not even a...
Debate?
Okay.
Masturbate?
Yeah.
What do you want from me? Do you want a masturbation joke? Okay, is that where they jack it? Is that where they touch each other? Is that where they put their hands on each other's penises and go to town? Is that what you wanted?
Tried. You could have at least tried. Anyway.
Yes, so could have the writers, dear.
You're not wrong. It's religion versus science, and everyone's just pouting about shit. They talk about the doctor coming because apparently he's coming to the debating chamber, and then cut to the doctor not knowing how to fully repair K9, and they ask K9 if they can hear him, and and he goes, "Yes, mistress," to the doctor. The doctor's like, "I'm not a lady." Meanwhile, the purple and the pinks and the whites are all arguing, and the leader of the white bowl cuts wants to leave, and Ponytail, who is the leader of the pinks, thinks he's a heretic and wants to kill him. And they're like, "Of course you want to do that. You want to sacrifice me like a fucking weirdo." And one comes in and goes, "It's an artifact." And the Ponytail goes, "No, it was from God. It came from heaven." Cut to some dudes out on a ship on a planet green screen, walking up to a miniature that's made to look like a bigature.
What?
A bigature. It's a miniature.
What's a bigature?
I believe it's I've heard it used for like a term where it's a miniature, like the prop is miniature, but it's blown up and the people are made teeny tiny so that it looks huge.
Oh yeah, it was a term coined by Weta Workshop during the production of Lord of the Rings trilogy, which makes sense considering how that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's exactly what it is, by the way. It's a miniature that it's using. I'll get into it a bit, but it's using a special technique.
Yeah.
That they never use again in the show.
It's bigatures, and bigatures are actually kind of cool and an interesting way to do things, but it looks like shit right now because it's the fucking 80s. Anyway, Mr. Russian Marco Polo, I'm Mongolian,
Wow.
maybe, I don't know, looks around and goes, and also scratches one of the plates of the bigature a little bit, and then along came Marco Polo, Russian-looking man, goes, I hate sand, goddammit, it's coarse and it gets in everywhere. Gets in my vagina. They apparently are here to deliver this awkward man in a business suit who's just here, and they dug up the suit and then they drug up the suit so he shuts the fuck up and then sit here and think like, why are we here? And then a small earthquake happens and a box rises out of the weird metally bits that landed nearby, and a door opens and they all go inside of it. It seems empty, but then they start to steal shit and a voice comes out and the subtitles say it's Meglos and is going, hey guys, what's up? And Gruger, the leader of the thieves, apparently, and him hunters, and the Earthlings are all here because Meglos asked them to be. Meglos is the only survivor of his planet. Also, he's a cactus. Cut back to the fuckers bickering about why they should listen to the doctor at all, and religion, science, religion. And a bowl-cut lady comes up and goes, listen, the food is going to be destroyed if we fucking do this, and eventually we're going to need to go up to the surface anyway. We need to figure out what the fuck to do. And then Meglos is apparently asking them to take the dodecahedron or something, and they're like, no, that's dangerous. And he's like, you're stealing my shit. Stop. And they're like, oh fuck, okay. And K9 isn't fully running. They might need recharging every 2 hours at this rate. The dodecahedron was apparently made here, and Tigella is only using a fraction of its real power, so they agree and decide to move the cactus to a place where, when a switch is flipped, the human and the cactus are both placed in a chamber. And also they're gonna steal shit here, because money and money and money, and then they're like, okay, let's go outside and get the tools to steal all this stuff, but the door is locked, and they're like, oopsie doopsie, cactus trap. And then the cactus was like, can you not fucking talk out loud about stealing my shit? Like, come on. Stop. And then they flip a switch, and the cactus and the human get beep boop so hard that the human becomes a cactus. But basically, it's like a human body with, like, cactusy spines coming out its face. Yeah. Romana has apparently almost fixed K9. The doctor is just walking around and trips. K9 seems to be in working order, and the doctor walks off and whispers a question, which he answers. But then the entire scene happens again, and they notice it, and then the cactus puts him in a fold of time where the same scene keeps happening, and then, like, a few seconds later they go, oh god, it's this thing. And then they repeat the scene again. They're like, oh my god, it's happened 3 times. I love how a time
loop happens, and you're just like, oh my god, it's boring.
They're
stuck in a time loop. Oh my god.
It's fucking really boring. It's really goddamn boring. I feel like there's better ways to show it. I feel like there's better ways to show it.
No. I mean, yeah, obviously, but like, it's the way you acted towards it is as if the concept itself insulted you.
I just
Not as if like, oh my god, it's a time loop, I get it. It's more like, oh my god, a time loop.
Yeah, because they aren't great with this. Like, the one where they're in the factory and they just kept using the same goddamn scenes, for example, to show that they were, like, running around. I hate this shit.
Okay, but that was pretty funny.
This is the shit I absolutely hate. 100%. Just hate. Anyway, the cactus has put them in, like, a time fold. And then he turns into the doctor physically, but also he has little cactus thingies. And he's like, alright, going to Tigella, or whatever the fuck. Getting Thai food. And that was it.
Getting Thai food. So Meglos, it's a bit of a weird story. There's kind of a weird thing to talk about. I'll talk about it more because I'm still trying to process it myself and understand, like, what the story is kind of meant to be about. Long story short, the story's not exactly amazing material. And Doctor Who was going through a period of, this was kind of the first time where people who grew up with the show were now working on the show. It's like the people who were working on Doctor Who now are working on a show that they didn't know a world without. So it's like, it wasn't like, oh my god, I get to write for this show or work on this show to build new things. It's like, oh, I remember this show when I was a kid, like all these things that I liked as a kid. I want to emulate those things that I liked as a kid without really having any purpose or like understanding like how to put things together properly. It was really weird. Although they did have the fresh take of the twist of the episode being the villain is a cactus, which I feel is the best element of this story. Like,
I mean, yeah,
hands down, it's kind of the best element of it. Like the rest of it, everything else is something that's been in Doctor Who before, like religion versus science, two planets in a war against each other, where one of them is wiped out and the other is in actually living in a bunker. It's like, these are all elements that have been in Doctor Who before.
Yeah.
But, like, a cactus as an enemy? That's pretty new.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. Keen to inject more science into the scripts. Christopher Bidmead, who I believe was was he the producer at this time? No. He was the script editor, that's right.
No, it was me. I was the producer.
No, producer was John Nathan Turner. I gotta remember the specific roles, because it's not showrunner at the time, it was producer is what they called it. Bidmead was the script editor, and because as I've said before, each era of Doctor Who is kinda created through the combination of producer and script editor. Like, you have during the 70s with the Third Doctor, you have the combination of producer and script editor created a symbiosis to create these like sort of spiritual stories, very anti-military, very very left-wing, but also not aggressively political in a sense of like, you know, calling out specific things that the government are doing. More of a, hey, we should be good people to each other, and hey, we shouldn't pollute the environment, and hey, we like maybe we shouldn't, you know, steal land from people, that sort of thing.
What?
Whereas after that, each change in script editor and showrunner producer would lead to different eras. Like, you have the gothic era of Doctor Who, and the sort of epic era of Doctor Who, where we got where the inflation hit and the budget lost its epicness, and we got a terrible CSO story. But this sort of season has it kind of has a through-line element that we get into more with later stories in it, of the element of entropy takes up a lot of... becomes sort of like a main through-line with all of it. Of entropy is a big part of it. But this story specifically kind of more just wants to emulate the past of Doctor Who through all these things coming back without any sort of thought or rhyme or reason to them. It was so sort of voiceless and directionless that they actually didn't know where to put it in the series, and they ended up just putting it here because it didn't involve certain characters that come up later in the series, and it was just like, well, I guess we'll just put it at the beginning of the series then, the season, like, fuck it, like, there's nowhere else for it to go. It's kind of just a story by numbers rather than anything they wanted to say or do, which is a shame, because I feel like you could have done something really good here, but it's like, it's that sort of thing of like, it has the echo of a Doctor Who story, but it doesn't say anything. You can look for things to say, like, oh, maybe there's something about religious extremism in there, or, you know, religion versus science, but it's like, there's nothing in there. Like, it's just,
I mean, it's
emulating
there,
that,
but
because
it's
that's what
not,
Doctor Who used to do.
You're not, like, talking about it. You're not making an argument against
exactly.
or for it. You're just like, hey, this exists.
Yeah, it's like,
That's
this
it.
used to be in, this was an element that used to be in Doctor Who, so let's include it. Whereas it's like, well, you know why it was in Doctor Who, right? Like, they used it to tell stories, whereas this, it's like, this is just an element in the story, and it's like, it doesn't make sense for it to really, like, if they're gonna have religious extremists in there, have there be a purpose to it, not just be a plot point of like, well, we need the Doctor tied up for this, so we need this person doing this, and it's like, it's why it kind of feels like, what's the point? Yeah. But anyway, what happens in the next part?
Alright, so, they could have just not shown the same thing over and over and just used the last line, but it's fine. But this is happening. There's no way to get out of this, by the way, so oh no. Cut to the treasure fuckers flying off and headed for Tigella. Ponytail is talking to Purple Dude and says, okay, yes, he could look at the dodecahedron, but he's gotta take the oath. And he's like, that's really fucked up. And she's like, deal with it? Deal with it? And then they drop off the Cactus Doctor and go, we'll pick you up if things go wrong. And Purple keeps hyping up the Doctor as being very mature and a great person. Bowl-cut lady heads into the, to the surface to meet the Doctor, and then there he is. And the Cactus Doctor instantly goes to the science guy's side and to chat about things. And he goes like, alright, I gotta do some stuff. I will take your oath, by the way. Don't worry about that. But things are gonna get really fucked up here in like an hour or two, potentially. Just so you know. Anyway, so they go through the motions of what they were doing already to fuck. So Romana is upset that they tried everything and they can't get out of the hysterectomy. So they decide to, yes, I called it a hysterectomy. So they go through the motions of what they were doing to confuse the hysterectomy. So it works by doing the things that they were already doing. So it can't repeat itself because they're already... Meanwhile, Cactus is taking the pledge of Thai food and he's allowed to enter the power room now. Real Doctor lands. The planet is ready to head out to look for them, and the Cactus is the only one allowed by the dodecahedron room, by the way, and he orgasms and goes, after 10,000 years, finally, and then he puts a device on it, and we cut away to the Doctor and K9 talking about bird plants. Too bad Romana gets attacked by a giant fucking flower in the process, and nobody notices. Ponytail has found female Bow-cut, and she is in trouble. They both run off and hide. Cactus Doctor has come up and then headed up the stairs. But where's the light? That's weird. The dodecahedron's gone or something, and the guard isn't sure what the dodecahedron's gone, and the guard isn't sure what the Doctor meets the guard and goes hi. And Romana is safe. She killed the flower. All the power is gone, and they think that the Doctor has betrayed them, and Ponytail calls for the Doctor's arrest. But Cactus is showing his cactus, which isn't good. It's like...
He showed his cactus all right.
Public indecency. It's fine, you don't get arrested for that anymore, apparently. Anyway, he just resorts to sneaking around and hiding in his cactus spot. He has a cactus spot. The real Doctor, by the way, is wandering around and gets fucking arrested because they're like, find the Doctor and arrest him! And the Doctor introduces himself, and no one really understands what's going on. And he's still arrested, and Romana sees what caused the burning plants, kinda, but then meets up with the thief guys, and she's caught by them. K9's like, I need and just leaves. And Romana is cornered and I guess is gonna be killed?
It's fine. It's fine. So, it was kind of obvious that by this time that Tom Baker's lethargy in the Leisure Hive was down to more than just jet lag. His hair had started to get a little bit lanky and needed to be like put into curls. He wore makeup for the first time since getting the part. Apparently at John Nathan Turner's insistence.
He kind of looks like shit in this one.
And Lalla Ward had to feed him spoonfuls of baby food. The precise nature of like this metabolic disorder that he had has never been divulged. He's never spoken about it. And it's kind of led to some unsavory rumors among fans. This, like, it became a bit of a problem because the stories were shot out of order. So the difference between Baker's appearance in the Leisure Hive and Meglos is a lot more marked than it otherwise might have been, had they filmed it in order. But the illness also seems to have changed his and Lalla Ward's relationship. Though attempts were made to keep the story away from the press, the two actors had begun a romance during the Paris shoot during the City of Death last season, and it was called off around the time they were filming Sharda. By all accounts, they were at each other's throats doing the filming of an upcoming story, but the spoon-feeding process apparently brought them back together during another episode, which led to,
What?
He apparently was so sick that, like, she needed to spoon-feed him.
No, I'm
some
trying to
food
think
on
of,
set.
like, what would even make it, I don't
I
know.
have no idea.
The literal only
it's
thing I can
clearly
think of
obvious.
is, like, chemotherapy. But, like, this is the 80s,
Possibly,
so
but-
I don't know.
This is the 80s. He could have just been doing chemo for fun.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, chemo
Um,
back then was not exactly great and working.
No. Was
So...
But yeah, it's never been divulged. It could have been anything. Who knows? But yeah.
Maybe he just
So
needed to poop.
one of the writers for this was actually an old acquaintance of the script editor. The team of authors had attracted his attention though by writing a pilot for a sitcom that was in a series of 6 pilots. The most successful was Guaranteed a Series. The winner was a series at the time that no one remembers. But the script editor found himself giving structure to their wild ideas, which in turn inspired them to go even further. They eventually resulted in a sort of strong advocate for their work in the script editor, Bidmead, giving them a brief to write out the Fourth Doctor project, Zeta Sigma, which was this sort of idea that turned into Meglos. Then they abandoned it totally after sort of desperate script conferences trying to deal with the logistics of invisible characters having long arguments on screen. There's a lot of weird stories that they had ideas for in this, but they threw away.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they were like, okay, well, we've just scrapped all this, so we need 2 totally new stories using the majority of the characters and setting that we already had at the time. So they were like, okay, well, we have these things, this sort of outline, can you write this sort of story? Also, the Gaztecs were deliberately eclectic. The guns were reused from another series, different sorts of series, like Blake 7. Apparently some were even, like, used from special events made for Doctor Who, where it was, like, different things all here. Items of clothing were reused from the Reboss operation. Some were also from BBC production of Macbeth, and also more from Blake 7. Although the script had stressed that the Gaztecs shouldn't look uniformed or styled, so it wasn't just a cost-cutting ploy, but yeah, it was a lot of cost-cutting ploys, just reusing shit as per usual. Anyway, what happened in the next part, dear?
Well, Romana is asked a bunch of questions instead of being killed, and she says, nah, actually, I landed here by mistake. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. A female bull cut is explaining what was happening to all the other bull cuts, and the femme bull cut is like, what did we really know about this dodecahedron? We don't know. And the thieves and Romana sneak their way around the planet and head their way back, and they're like, oh, that's the ship. Wait, why are we back? And she's like, rotation? Don't worry about it. I'll lead you the right way this time. And the Doctor doesn't understand what's happening still, and he's telling them he doesn't understand, and everyone in the city is like, in 2 hours we're gonna die. So now Romana is really, 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 really needing to get them to the city. Cactus is currently struggling to keep the businessman inside himself, and continues to hide in his cactus hole. The Doctor is trying to figure out what's going on. He thinks that there's a doppelganger, and then Cactus Man takes the female bull cut by the hands and drags her away, and she doesn't scream at all for some fucking reason. And she goes, why should I lead you out of here? And he's like, I'm Meglos, bitch. And he's like, what does that mean? And also, I have this thing in my hand that makes you fucking terrified. And she's like, ah! And Romana has led them farther and right past the flower that attacked them. So it attacks them, of course. And the Doctor is down in the dodecahedron room, and they talk about how it's so heavy that there's no way it could have been taken. Ponytail's like, look, God took it, so now it's time for religion. Everyone else is going to the surface. We're going to stay down here. She also says the Doctor is going to bring back the dodecahedron because I said so, because we're going to sacrifice you. So Romana has walked through the flowers and escaped, gets to the city just in time for the exit to be closed, sees K9 has dead batteries, picks him up, runs in the door, but then gets trapped in an inner door, because of course there's 2 doors. Cactus is telling Bullcut to fucking get him out of here, and then the humans start to fight him again. The guards are at the main door while the thieves try to break in. Romana and K9 are currently safe because the thieves have broken in through the front door, but they've opened up the door that Romana was stuck behind, and they like grab her and they're like, "Get in here." She does see the cactus doctor and thinks it's the real doctor, so she like knocks out Lady Bullcut and she's like, "What the fuck?" And he escapes. And she takes her to the side and goes, "That's not the fucking doctor." Meanwhile, Cactus Doctor was handed over the dodecahedron to the thieves and is like, "Lol, look what I did." And the real doctor, by the way, is being sacrificed currently. He's being sacrificed by being squished by a really big rock. And the cactus and the thieves are heading to leave, and Romana's like, "Oh, where's the real doctor?" Cut to the doctor under the giant fucking rock. Romana and Bullcut are trying their best to get down there and explain what's going on and stop the sacrifice and tell Ponytail what is happening. Never mind. That is the next episode.
I was waiting for it.
Listen,
so...
it was between 2 pages, so I was very confused. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
So, the scenes that are set on the surface of Zolfathrua were realized by the way of a new effects technique being referred to as scene sync. Development of the established color separation overlay process. This involved 2 cameras being electronically synchronized to follow identical movements so that they could be made to track in unison and maintain the composite image. That was created in the normal way. Whereas previously, the camera and CSO shots had to basically always be static, otherwise they couldn't do the shot. Basically, this was a way for them to be able to do green screen, but also move the camera around. Which, is kind of important. It makes things more dynamic when you're able to move the camera around and, back doesn't move as well. Weirdly enough, though, this is the only story in which they use this. After this story, Doctor Who kind of just abandons this altogether, which is really weird to me. But whatever. Sure. We get our own special effects as time goes on. Jacqueline Hill, who was in this, also played companion Barbara back in the 60s. She initially stopped acting to become a mother, but then decided to get back into acting again and did a few things here and there. I believe a thing for a production of Romeo and Juliet before getting in this role. She kind of regretted appearing in this story, actually. She felt it was inappropriate to appear as a different character, and she admitted that the show had changed quite a bit since her time, and it was kind of only recognizable in name only to her. Which, yeah, is kind of true. The show has changed a lot since the 60s, which, fun fact, while I was looking up titles and shit the other day, Series 3, the end of, a lot of the first Doctor's missing stories in Series 3, holy shit, there's a lot of racism in them. It's maybe it's kind of good that some of these are lost. Because, fun fact, one of them has a character saying a nursery rhyme that has the N-word in it. Which is still, not calling a character the N-word, but, in the nursery rhyme, it's, what's it called? Fuck! I forgot the nursery rhyme. It's a nursery rhyme that some versions had the N-word in it for some reason. Well, I know what reason, but, but yeah, it was said in the episode, and I looked that up and I was like, huh! Well then!
Well,
I'm sure the BBC wouldn't include that in any official release. Yep, they do, because they've released missing episodes on audio, not as in redoing the episode, but literally just slapping all the audio that they have, music and dialogue and stuff, on a CD essentially, and going from there. And it's oh yep, the N-word's in that. Cool. That's great. That's great. Also, anyway, back to Meglos. Brotadak, sorry, is an anagram for bad actor, which was kind of a weird in-joke from the production team about the writers keep saying that they wrote it about like the other writer, but each writer says that about the other one. So it's like, why is it called? Why'd you call him bad actor? Anyway, what happens in the final part, dude?
Well, Romana and Bullcut are trying their best to get down and explain what happened. They stop the sacrifice, tell Ponytail what's happening. Purple's like, yeah, that's all true. Cactus is just having a bad road trip now, tells the thieves that they will all be rewarded for everything that they've done. The doctor, by the way, we saw him holding the dodecahedron, and we talked about some screens and of Sulfathura? Is it Sulfathura? Cut back to the bigature again, and the cactus is getting inside his house, but he kind of just buries the dodecahedron and then heads off, and he's like, alright, let's activate it. Then his house comes out of the sand, and the dodecahedron is now larger, but it's, and we head inside.
Don't worry about it.
Romana almost gets killed because there's a thief who is dying who tried to shoot her, and Ponytail Lady saves her and dies. Cactus is like, look up, my screens are making the power even bigger, and they want to blow up Tigella now because we can. And the doctor and the Bullcuts and Romana shoosh into the planet. And the doctor is like, listen, they think the doctor's here, so you can't be here. Stay here. And they're like, fuck, okay, sure. He almost gets caught by someone instantly, and he's like, wait, hold on, can you hold this up for me? And he's like, yeah. And then he just leaves. And the doctor walks in and learns of their plan and gets stupid questions out of the thief group and goes, all right, yes, this is what I do, yes. And then another guy walks in and they notice that there's two coats, so he's like, fuck, this isn't good. But then Meglos sees something off in the distance because he's still outside. The doctor, whatever, Megalodon, sees something off in the distance and goes, and the doctor's like, listen, I got you both a jacket because you're awesome, and then I'm gonna leave. And then the thieves go, you know what? We don't really need him anymore because the countdown's happening. So let's just, arrest him or kill him or whatever. And then the cactus doctor walks up, and he's the one that gets caught first. And the real doctor goes, oh, guess I'm good. And then he gets captured as well, and he's put inside the ship inside the same cell as the cactus. The cactus is upset that 10,000 years of plans went to shit. If they fire the laser, apparently everyone on the planet and the planet itself is going to explode. Because the doctor reversed all the controls. So that's not great. Cut to him starting the fucking countdown. K9 is sent to open all the things and knock out all the people, and he does, and he can, and he does. And the doctor doesn't understand why Cactus would want to rule the universe. We don't really get an explanation as to why. And Meglos is just like, I'm a fucking cactus. It wiggles away. I've gotten too much water. Wiggle. It's like a cactus that has rotted because you've overwatered it, honestly.
Yeah. It's kind of disgusting.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, the doctor is just like, well, let's take this businessman and everyone else and run for the TARDIS so we don't die. and then the TARDIS...
Let's just take this businessman.
The TARDIS starts to swoosh away, and the doctor's like, this TARDIS needs a checkup because it's taking so long. And the cactus tries to get back to his other cactus body, and they're like, okay, well, bye. And then they land on Tigella. And they're like, well, Romana's like, we need to go to Gallifrey for some reason. And he's like, okay, let's drop off the businessman first. And the businessman is like, please do. I'm in trouble with my wife. I can't get back and home in time. And he's like, we'll get you home before you even left. And he's like, what?
Bum, bum, bum,
Uh-huh. That's it.
Anyway, that's Meglos.
Mm-hmm. I actually literally changed my score while rereading this because of shit that I found stupid in this fucking story.
Yeah, my biggest complaint with the story is that it's not a Doctor Who story. It's a Doctor Who TM story, if that makes sense. It's like it's not a story that is like utilizing Doctor Who to tell a story. It is a story about Doctor Who. Like it just uses elements that have been in Doctor Who before to tell it, like Like, it's like a AI generated Doctor Who episode almost.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, that's kind of just what it is. Wait, what do you think, dear?
So I will say, I halved the fucking score I gave it originally. What do you think I scored it?
Halved?
Yes, I halved
I
it.
think in that case, if you halved it, I think you probably gave it a 4 and now you're giving it a 2.
That is exactly what I did.
Because you wouldn't change your score that drastically unless halving meant you only took off like a few points.
Yeah, no.
You wouldn't go from a 10 to a 5.
No, I wouldn't. There's no way.
Yeah, that's fair.
so-
Meglos is like it. I think the biggest problem with Meglos is like it's kind of just like nothing. It's like bland. It's like the only interesting thing is the cactus, and like yeah, it's interesting, but it doesn't keep like your attention or anything. Like there's no point to it. It's like you could have done some cool shit. Like have there be a point to being the cactus, or have there a point to being the religious extremism, but they don't. Kind of just exists to exist. It exists to have time go by. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's Meglos. The next episode, 2 words, full blank.
Full throttle?
Full Metal Alchemist. No.
Full Metal Alchemist.
No, not Throttle.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. Full... do I get a hint?
Ow! Sorry, I just accidentally slammed my knee.
Was that my hint?
Hint. I don't know how to like give a hint without just giving away what it is. Okay, Full Throttle, no. You're kind of on the wrong lines with Full Throttle. But you're kind of right in that it's a concept.
I don't know, because like the only things that are coming to mind are like speed, or like
what are the other full? What else is full? Like full, like what can full mean? Full can mean
full stomach,
like full, like yeah, like it could mean a quantity. It could mean a like a completion of something.
I literally am just gonna take the L on this one. Just what is it?
So are you saying that this conversation is going full circle?
God damn it. Alright, cool. Yeah, no. So the way that you could have given me a hint is you could have been like, it's a shape.
Yeah, but then you would have gotten it immediately. What were you going to say? Full rectangle?
I don't know.
Why would an episode be called Full Rectangle?
I don't know.
Full Triangle.
Yes.
Full dodecahedron. Oh my god. Oh my god, we've come full circle because dodecahedron. We did it. That's it. We have to stop. Full circle next week.
Done. Stop.
Done. We're done. Print it.